Today is the 19th of September, and I'm just putting this up. It's a little after noon. Well, actually, it's almost 2 o'clock. But they haven't told all the details on this, but I'm going to go ahead and put it up because there's reason. Well, I've tried to tell on, I'm putting this up on YouTube, and I go on Facebook, and I put a lot of this up about my kidnapping and all that. But I think if you're watching this, you know enough about me, or you can go back on, scroll back on a few YouTubes and see where I was kidnapped and who and where I was brought at age 2 in 1941 to Middleton, Alabama. And I ran in a political campaign and wrote a book about mind control murders. And Larry Flynn of Hustler magazine was one of them that was shot March the 6th of 1978 while I was doing the book. It was unpublished because I was almost killed April Fool Day of 80. Had letters from the FBI. In fact, I had two. Anyway, this is ongoing, and that's what they said about the investigation. So it's ongoing. So the problem is, does it ever end? Or I die, and what I wanted to put up today, I've put up lists over the years, and when I put them up, they're done in patterns. And there's no way I could try to describe in even a couple of hours the part about the patterns. What I will say is, again, is my mom was born in Madison, Wisconsin, Grand Prairie, Wisconsin suburb. And she was married to my father, King Edward VIII, who never married Wallace Warfield Simpson, a double married Wallace, an imposter. And by the way, there were more than one imposter. They became the illegal Duke and Duchess of Windsor again. I said that, I think. Anyway, my dad was married to my mom. She was actually queen, and they were married in the Church of England. And then when I was born in 1939, I was christened. And there was a huge photograph of my father holding me at my christening. So this whole thing was a plot to take down King Edward VIII, and they did. They actually deleted the real King Edward VIII and put this facade, this lie, this imposter up there. The Illuminati did that married Wallace. You can't even find a picture of my mom. They've got her dying in 84. She was alive, and my mother and father was still alive and married to each other all those years, October the 20th of 86. Now, so much was done to me and my sons, and I didn't, who are heirs after me, by the way. Mark would be heir, then Scott after me, and it was legal, but I don't want to go into rehash that, so to speak, if that's a good word for it. Some people that do follow me regularly, it's being redundant for them, the information, but if I don't, then the people just pick it up and they don't know where I'm coming from. Anyway, what I'm putting up today, I was telling about patterns, and I know right away somebody's going to say, well, that's not enough to prove, because they don't know where I'm coming from on all of it. Hopefully this will be told soon. I certainly hope so. Is mind control and how people are being programmed. They can be programmed to shoot or kill. It's a murder weapon, and it's unlimited, and it's massive. When I started it in 1976, I'm sure it was more prevalent then, but what I knew was they were using ham sets and teaching you the Morse code. So I've heard a lot recently. I'm the one that was telling about all this, and I've heard recently the Morse code being used and all this. Anyway, it was also about the Tesla files, that you can create an illness or cure it, and they were stolen back in 1936. And Donald Trump, President Trump's uncle was supposed to, his name was John, can't remember his middle name now. He was a professor at MIT, John Trump. Anyway, this is, you can Google and find that out. But there's more about the Tesla files and that. It wasn't just Tesla, the Illuminati that kidnapped me and took down my father, the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers, President Roosevelt actually appointed JFK's father um, as ambassador to England in 1936 for the purpose of helping take down my dad and install his brother Elizabeth's father, who's illegal, of course. And he went along with the illegal treaties that were signed, and I've told about that. They deleted my father, and this is an illegal lineage up there. Now they're war criminals, traitors. But what I wanted to get to now is, of course, William is, if they follow it and keep the illegal monarch in the system there, they're illegal, for God's sake. So what good is a monarchy if you're going to let all this happen and condone it? You got Elizabeth, and supposedly when she died, it would go to Charles, and then it would go to William and Kate Middleton. Now, I wanted to put this up. The murders that I speak of were done in patterns, like Virginia Tech next door, the 33 that was shot there, and the shooter is programmed, quite frankly, to commit suicide, shoot himself after he's been programmed to shoot the others. Actually, he's a victim himself. But anyway, these are done in patterns, and there's a long list that go way back and involve murders out at, well, a lot of murders. I want to throw this one in. I had not thought of it for a while. I don't remember his name, but he was a psychiatrist from Roanoke, Vinton, Salem, where I'm at, that's Roanoke County. He was born here, but I believe he was from, I'm not sure what country he was from, but he grew up here, born here. He went to Virginia Tech and got his degree, and then went to another school, medical, to get his degree in psychiatry. Okay, now the psychiatrist should be telling all this that I'm telling. But they don't. So ask yourself why not. And the media, the Illuminati controlled media. Now, so that I don't lose you, I'm just going to jump to this, and I may get tuned out. This isn't bringing me anything. I'm not getting anything out of this, believe me, but pain. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I don't know the shooter today that's in Middleton, Wisconsin, and that's a suburb of Madison, Grand Prairie, Wisconsin, where my mom was born, that married King Edward VIII, and they had me, their daughter, and the minute I was born, I'm Victoria II, heir to the British crown. Legal, not Elizabeth, they're illegal. Now, there were 4 that were, it was in an office. It was an office shooting, and it just happened a couple hours ago, and I don't know the details, but I know enough. I don't know the shooter's name or any of that. I know enough to put it up that it's a mind control murder. He was programmed, the man was, that did the shooting. So it didn't develop into mass, but it doesn't matter. It matters that he's programmed. There was what was the other thing I was going to put up? I was just going to say this: the Madison, as in Madison, Wisconsin, where my mom was born, has to do in 1980 when I was almost killed. I've just put that up on this tape about the FBI letters. I was doing a book on mind control and programming people, like the man that shot Larry Flint in Lawrenceville, Georgia, while I was doing the book. So I gave detail on that. But in 80, after they almost killed me, I worked for Fred Simpson, the district attorney in Madison County, Alabama, which is Huntsville, the space industry, and I was kidnapped and brought to Moulton, about maybe 40 miles from Huntsville. Anyway, it was like me working for the district attorney, Fred Simpson, it became, well, it always was, I just didn't know it, certain patterns used. And here I was doing the book. I knew those murders were done in patterns. But here I am working here in, I found out in late 83, after I'd been in the U.S. congressional race to replace Dr. Congressman Larry McDonald, I started finding out about my birth and my kidnapping. Now, Larry McDonald, the Dr. Congressman, August 31st of 83, was supposed to have been on the KAL when it was shot down by the Russians when it veered into their airspace 10 miles in. Larry McDonald was supposed to be on that plane. And this is the results of my doing the book and all that was happening that you didn't read about. Anyway, that allowed me to be flown out to Flint's, and he was the guy was a program shooter, and I had was writing about that. Of course, it didn't get published. So Mr. Flint did the article. He supported me, but he did another article April the 4th of 84, and he says in the article editorial that I knew who was responsible for his shooting, and he named it. Anyway, Larry McDonald was taken off. Well, now, let me rephrase that. Richard Nixon, former president, was on that plane that Larry McDonald has stated he went down. There's 260 plus people aboard, and they all drowned. So he goes down, supposedly Larry McDonald, but Nixon was taken off the flight just before takeoff. What happened, they took the whole plane down to make it appear that Larry McDonald died there too. Now, whether he did, I don't know, but the pilot, you can program the pilot. He flew into Russian airspace. He was a seasoned pilot. They talk about, this brings in more security, like all these other things that happen. School shootings and all this. Now they're bringing out all these people in, or security or policemen to guard the children. The problem with all of it is, whether it's on an airplane, you put a U.S. Marshal or a flight marshal on there to protect the passengers, they can be programmed to come out shooting. Or in the school, it could be the teacher. They're going to provide her or him a gun. They can come out shooting. Or the cop, the policeman you put there. The whole point is you have to stop the mind control being used. You have to force Congress, who has to have known all this for years and years. And yet, Larry McDonald, I could go into another congressman here too that would shock you, but I won't. I'm going to stop here, and I don't know the young man's name today at Middleton, Wisconsin, that was responsible for the shooting. He's been shot himself, but I don't know that it will add much to it, but I know that that's a mind control shooting, program shooting.